Let's review our Sunday School lesson for today. We're in the summer quarter for the months of June, July, and August, entitled The Righteous Reign of God, looking at the sovereign rule and reign of God through the prophets, as well as the type of rule that God will have over his kingdom and that Messiah King that will be promised. We're in unit number 3 for the month of August, entitled God's Eternal Reign. We're looking at 4 lessons from the New Testament epistles that deal with the life or how we should live under God's kingdom authority. Today we're looking at lesson number 12 for August the 20th, 2023, entitled Commended. Our printed passages 1 Corinthians 4, verse 1 through 6, and verse 17 through 21. Now, the past 2 weeks we've talked about this kingdom that Christ is ushering. It's a kingdom that our lives and how we live reflect on who we belong to. Last week we talked about it's a kingdom that cares about other people. This week is a reminder to us that this kingdom that we are a part of does not have pride of preference. It does not have pride of preference. Now, in the context of our scripture today, the Corinthian church had pride of preference in a way. They had 2 ministers that were ministering among them, the Apostle Paul, as well as one by the name of Apollos. Now, Paul was more of a straightforward, may not have been much to look at, but he was a divider of truth and stood on the side of right. But many people loved Apollos because he was something to look at, as well as eloquent with words. He had good way with word. Paul may come and correct you. Apollos may know how to smooth it over. Paul may be the one to chastise you, but Apollos be the one with eloquent words to flatter you in so many ways. And they had their preference, and preference made them want to choose Apollos over Paul. And that preference also could lead to pride on behalf of the ministers who were ministering among them or serving among them, that one would think that they were better than the other in pride and in preference, preferring one over the other. Now in verse number 4, Paul says this doesn't really matter, because the way you guys are judging of what's good and what's bad, what you want, what you don't want, you're judging and you're judging before the just judge can judge. So Paul says in verse number 5, don't judge until the Lord come. He bring to light the hidden things as well as the counsels of the heart, the things that we cannot see. But then more importantly, in verse number 6, he says, don't be puffed up against one another. As much as we deal with pride and preference that make us measure one another of who's great, who's not great, who's good, this kingdom is not one of pride or preference. It is one in which love reigns. It is one in which we consider others before we consider ourselves. But if there's any doubt, verse number 21, Paul says, when I come at you not with a rod, but in love, in the spirit of meekness. That humble spirit is what we need. What a beautiful lesson and a timely lesson for some of the things that we're dealing with today. Let us remember we are a kingdom of meekness, humility, and not one of pride or preference.